She's on mute. She's on mute, but she's here.
Okay, Mayor, we are live whenever you are ready to go.
Okay, so
Not anymore.
can I please have a motion to come out of executive session, please?
I move that we come out of executive session with no action taken.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. We are out of executive session. At this time, I would like to call our September 9th meeting to, nope, we've got a public hearing first. We've got a public hearing. So we call the September 9th public hearing to order. The purpose of the first item on this public hearing is ordinance 20-20-17, an ordinance to rezone approximately 13.964 acres of real estate located in Beaufort County, described as Beaufort County Tax District 112, map 33, parcels 90A, 138, and a portion of 137 in Beaufort County, South Carolina, to be rezoned from T3 Suburban to T4 Neighborhood Center Open, rezoning of 1 Hamrick Drive. The parcel is shown on the screen at this point in time. We'll give Facebook a chance to show up. Brooke, have you gotten any comments on this?
No, sir.
We'll give another minute for any comments to come in. Still nothing. We will move on to the second item in the public hearing. Ordinance 20-20-22, an ordinance to rezone approximately 2.96 acres of real estate located in Beaufort County, described as Beaufort County Tax District 112, map 30, parcel 4 in Beaufort County, South Carolina, to be rezoned T4 Neighborhood Center to T4 Neighborhood Center Open, rezoning at 4 Sundown Bend. Any prior communications on this, Brooke?
No, sir.
Can you put that one up on the screen for a minute?
Getting that right now for us.
Thank you.
Here we go.
While the live stream is catching up, we'll go ahead and read the third ordinance into the record. So this is ordinance 20-20-23, an ordinance to authorize the town manager to convey excess real property to facilitate the construction of sidewalks in the town, described as Beaufort County Tax District 113, map 10, parcel 75, approximately 2,048.1 feet along the eastern boundary of 12th Street and Ritter Circle. Anything on this one?
No, sir.
I'll go ahead and read the last one into the record. So ordinance 20-20-24, an ordinance to authorize the town manager to convey excess real property to facilitate the construction of sidewalks within the town, described as Beaufort County Tax District 110, map 11, parcel 436, approximately 53 feet on 16th Street, known as 813 16th Street. Clear on comments on this one as well?
Yes, sir.
And the last one is any comments related to the CBGG program streetscape project for Paris Avenue?
And if you just want me to give a quick overview on that so people understand that, I can do that real quickly.
Please do.
Great.
All right, this is our estimated preliminary cost estimate. And just going to go over the scope real quickly and then the total estimated cost. Rework existing parking striping layout, repair enhanced curbs around existing planting islands, install irrigation for Anchor Park and the planted islands, improve existing landscaping for Anchor Park and landscape islands, replace the old mercury vapor street lights with new state-of-the-art LED, Includes engineering, field services, contingencies, as well as our administrative costs associated with this. So the total estimated project preliminary cost is $716,000.
Thank you.
Say that again, 716,000.
Correct.
Correct.
Okay. Okay, gotcha.
Wow.
This is public hearing on this, on that. Yep. All right,
we do
we'll,
have- We do have Jessica Daly available as well for any further questions that you might have.
Jessica, would you like to add anything? You're on mute. We're all good at that. How do I do it?
Okay, the only thing I would add is that the local match is only 71,000. The majority of that project is grant funding.
Thank you very much for that.
Wow.
Daryl, feel better now?
Yes.
We got rid of the zero.
Yeah.
Drop the zero. Okay, one last check for public comment. We are giving it a little extra time for the live stream to catch up. Brooke, do you have anything?
All we have is some folks from Hammock Drive that they're all in support. We have about 3 messages here, one saying he's a resident, and then 2 in support of the rezone for the church.
Very good. And you'll enter them into the minutes for the public hearing?
Yes, sir.
Very good. We'll go ahead and adjourn the public hearing at this time and go to our regular council meeting. And I'll call the September 9th regular council meeting to order. This is a virtual meeting. It will be shown on Facebook Live, and we're operating under the Zoom platform. The first is the Pledge of Allegiance. Sean, are you still there to put the flag up for us?
I am. Give me just 1 second. I apologize. I was not prepared. I got it right here.
And Kevin, if you could lead us in that once the flag shows up.
Okay. Pledge allegiance
To the flag
of the United States
United States of America,
And to the
to the
republic,
republic for which it stands,
one nation,
nation,
under God,
under God,
indivisible.
indivisible, with
Justice.
liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Sean. And Jerry, can you lead us in the invocation?
Absolutely. Would you pray with me, please? Heavenly Father, thank you for the many blessings of life. And Lord, we thank you for this opportunity that you give us, that we can all get together via Zoom and do the business of our town. Lord, please give us the courage, the wisdom, the words, and the discernment to make the decisions for the good of the community. These things we ask in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, everybody. Item number 3 on our agenda is the approval of minutes. We have minutes from our public hearing of August 5th, our council meeting of August 5th, a special meeting of August 12th, and the regular council meeting of August 12th. We can take this as a group if council feels like they want to go that direction. Do we have a motion?
Yeah, I make a motion to approve all minutes presented from August 5th and August 12th, public hearing, special meeting, council workshop, and regular council workshops.
I'll second.
So we have a motion and we have a second to approve the minutes as submitted. Any further discussion on that? Hearing
No.
none, as you know, we have to do the roll call. Again, I'll follow the order in which you happen to show up this week. So Jerry, you're in the upper left.
Jerry Ashmore, aye.
Mary Beth,
Aye.
Kevin,
Aye.
and Daryl.
Aye.
Mayor's also aye. Thank you. So our minutes are approved from our August 5th and August 12th meetings. Next item is presentations. The destination next plan, Mr. Wells, Rob Wells. Man, you want to give us a little bit of an update on what this is going to be about before Rob gets started?
Well, I may just let Rob do that. He probably can speak to this more accurately than I can. But I think he just wants to give you an understanding of what these guys are up to,
Rob,
and what
you
they
took
can do
o-
for us.
Very good. Rob, you flipped those glasses off like you were jumping into the Superman act or something.
Hey man, it's part of the look, Joe. It's also got to be able to read my notes here, so it's kind of a two-edged sword.
Very good.
So, as many of you know, in 2018, the Beaufort Port Royal Convention and Visitor Bureau separated from the Beaufort Regional Chamber of Commerce in 2018. And at that time, the board of directors for the CVB ventured down a path of setting kind of a course for strategic imperatives that the new organization needed to follow and kind of align. And so in late 2019, we sought after Magellan Strategies and a core group of committee members, Van included, to designate this Destination Next plan. Now, we intended to have the plan be implemented, or at least be completed, and be able to share the results with you guys ahead of your strategic plan session, so that any opportunities to incorporate at that time would be in simultaneous. Then something happened, and we all had to move to Zoom to conduct meetings. So we are taking the results, and my good friend Chris Cavanaugh with Magellan Strategies, who has helped us along this process and has been a part of this. I'm going to turn it over to him. These are his findings. This is some of you participated in the research through some of the surveys that were sent out. This is a representative of Northern Beaufort County stakeholders, both from the town of Port Royal, the city of Beaufort, and in the unincorporated portions of Northern Beaufort County. But I'm going to let Chris take over from here. I just wanted to give a proper introduction to him, and then I will disappear for a while.
Very
Chris,
good.
all yours. Thank you, man.
Chris, before you get started, just want to make certain, Rob, any council members have any question for Rob?
No, sir.
It's just a difficult environment working in Zoom, so I want to make certain everybody gets an opportunity. Chris, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate it. And thank you, Rob, for those introductory comments. So I have the privilege of presenting to you today, and I appreciate that very much. I'm going to share my screen here so I can go through the presentation slides. I have a short presentation I want to make that will present the findings of what Rob mentioned to you. Name of my group is Magellan Strategy Group, but in doing this assessment, we used a company that is based in Vancouver, British Columbia, called MMGY Next Factor, and they have pioneered a process called Destination Next. It's an assessment tool that is used to assess the strength of destinations worldwide, and they have worked with between 300 and 400 destinations worldwide. And now Northern Beaufort County, including Beaufort and the town of Port Royal, are part of that process. And so we had the chance to interview 60 or do extensive surveys with 60 stakeholders representing everyone from elected officials to town and city officials to hotel owners to retailers and restaurateurs. We had a very good cross-section of individuals respond to this survey. The questions implemented in the survey are very similar across the entire globe, so it gives us a chance to do some benchmarking. And what this other company has found, and located in British Columbia, MMGY Next Factor, is that through their work, they found that there's two key drivers of destination success. Community support and engagement, and destination strength. We'll talk about each of those in more detail, and how Port Royal and Beaufort fared in terms of the stakeholder assessment in both of those. And what they have found is that successful destinations generally have three parts of this pyramid, if you will. There are core best practices that every destination should be doing. And a DMO here is Destination Marketing Organization, which is what Rob Wells has as the CVB. Next on the pyramid is best practices. What are things that really leading destinations are doing that result in superior marketplace or community results, superior benefits in the marketplace, highly competitive, or that are good for the community. And then finally, there are a few destinations out there that are doing what they call next level practices, which are things that are transformative and serve as models for destinations worldwide. So again, keep in mind that the results for Port Royal and Beaufort were benchmarked against destinations from around the world and across the US. And again, remember that there's two different variables. There's destination strength and community alignment and engagement. And they found that Beaufort and Port Royal fell into the Voyagers quadrant there. You see that upper left-hand quadrant there. The other three quadrants are trailblazers, mountaineers, and explorers. And these are the definitions provided by our partners on this project. So what does it mean to be a Voyager as classified here for, what's the key strategic challenge here for Port Royal and Beaufort? Well, first is that we need to maintain momentum over time required to implement the strategy, meaning that the stakeholders believe you have some momentum, you have some good things going on in the community that make the community competitive as a destination. It also means, though, one of your other key strategic challenge, and I think this is very appropriate for Northern Beaufort County, is that you're having to make prioritized choices for focused action. You want to avoid the temptation to be all things to all people. You have limited time and resources, and so what you really need is the wisdom to decide how to spend the time and resources that you do have. And then finally, as a Voyager community, you're establishing destination marketplace credibility. You have a brand, and we'll talk more about that brand here in the next few slides, but you have you're rapidly developing marketplace credibility as a place that people do want to spend time and that you live up to the promise of what you offer to potential visitors. So as I mentioned, there's these broad areas, two broad variables of destination strength and community alignment and engagement. And we're going to look at 10 categories first for destination strength. What does it mean to be a strong destination? And there are 10 criteria for that. The stakeholders in your community said that number one, in terms of relative importance, the most important thing is that we have quality attractions and entertainment and a variety of things to bring people to Port Royal and Beaufort. Secondly, is that we offer a variety and quality of accommodations in terms of importance. Third is that we do things that allow our visitors and our residents to get around easily. And fourth, that we have a strong destination brand that people in the community and visitors can be proud of and engage with. It's that emotional connection that your visitors have and your residents have with the place. How do you perform in those? Well, of those top 4 out of 10 categories, you actually perform pretty well. Number 1 in terms of performance was brand. Number 3 was attractions and entertainment. Number 4 was accommodations. Lower down on the scale, 9th out of 10 categories was mobility and access. So we'll talk more about what that means. So I'm going to go through these fairly quickly. Again, there's 10 categories under destination strength. Let's look at attractions and entertainment, which again, stakeholders said on a 1 to 5 scale was the most important. So let's look at your performance. The area has some very unique and vibrant neighborhoods. You already know that, but your visitors recognize that as a benefit as well. Farther down, though, is the area is not perceived as having iconic attractions. Again, these are the perceptions of people who engage with the visitor economy, who are tourism stakeholders. I think that that's something that's going to change over time, particularly as the Reconstruction era National Historical Park becomes better known. That's a huge competitive advantage. And I think as that asset becomes better known, it's going to be a significant attraction for the area. But there are other opportunities as well. We'll talk more about those toward the end of the presentation and what that means for Port Royal. Accommodations. Generally, the area scores fairly well according to stakeholders in this area. But the biggest missing piece, and this is reflected in a lot of comments from stakeholders as well that I've spoken with, is that you don't have a large meeting or convention hotel. Most of your hotels are fairly small, nice hotels generally, and generally in that mid-price or lower price segment. But what you don't have are hotels which can offer meetings and convention space. And so that was marked down here lower on the scale. Again, this is on a 1 to 5 scale, with 1 being at the bottom of the performance, 5 being near the top. Mobility and access. If you recall from a couple of slides ago, this was also seen as very important by stakeholders. How did you perform here? Well, generally, it's felt that the visitor experience doesn't impede the enjoyment of locals, that locals are able to enjoy the assets that you have, whatever they may be, just as well as local residents can enjoy them just as well as visitors. But the area does receive lower marks for its accessibility for disabled residents and visitors, for being a bicycle-friendly destination, and also in public transportation. And so I think, particularly looking at places like Sands Beach and what's the accessibility for something like that for the disabled, or the opportunity for the trail extension in terms of becoming an even more bicycle-friendly destination. And we've certainly seen during the pandemic that a lot of cities and towns and other communities have embraced being bicycle friendly. The popularity of biking has never been so high as it is now. What about the brand? Well, that's your emotional connection that residents and visitors have with the town and with the county. And it's seen as being a healthy, outdoor, and active, which I certainly agree. Outdoor activities are a key part of the brand appeal of the area. It's also seen as a safe, clean, and secure area by stakeholders. And this area leverages its presence very well on social media. I think Rob and his team do a very good job there and social media of emphasizing the destination brand. Events, I know, are a very important part of the town of Port Royal. In particular, the Soft Shell Crab Festival, which is certainly a signature event for the community. And those events are seen as a positive for the community. Are there opportunities for expanding public event capacity in other places in the county? Absolutely. But events are generally seen as a strength of the destination. Communications and internet infrastructure. The mere fact that we're having this meeting over Zoom is a demonstration of the fact that the perception of the importance of broadband width and capacity has become critical in a lot of communities. And that's true for visitors as well. And it can also be a significant, important part of economic development. You're already aware of that, and we've seen the importance of that during this time period. It's also very important to visitors as well. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on international readiness. That's not a low-hanging fruit for the area. It's more important for larger destinations that cater to the international market. This is not as appealing. It certainly can be appealing to international visitors, but it's a harder to reach destination, and so international market is not as important for this area. Outdoor recreation and sports facilities. We've already talked about how the natural beauty of the area is a real strength, particularly when it comes to the brand. But it's also very important in terms of outdoor recreation and sports facilities as being a key component of that. You'll notice that we see lower marks than at the bottom here by stakeholders in terms of the performance of the area on the resources dedicated to local sport leadership, and certainly around amateur sports facilities. I've heard a lot of commentary about that in talking with stakeholders over the last couple of years in the work that I've done with Rob. That's certainly a point of emphasis for both stakeholders and for the community. Convention and meeting facilities is another point of emphasis for the community and for the visitor economy as well. And this is seen as an opportunity, particularly for providing facilities that have meeting and convention capacity for visitors, fulfilling to attract new segments of visitors, but also for attracting visitors in the off season or in shoulder season. But these are facilities that can also be very appealing to local residents as well as opportunities for meeting venues and event venues. Air access, you're largely dependent upon your neighbors in Hilton Head Island and Charleston and Savannah, which generally have very good domestic air access, not as strong in terms of international, but again, that's not a significant opportunity for visitation to the area. Now, the other area I mentioned before as being one of the key drivers of destination success is community alignment and engagement. How well does the community engage with tourism and see it as a driver of economic development? In terms of relative importance, in terms of how important it is, the top 4 out of 10 categories were funding, support, and certainty. Economic tourism as a form of economic development was seen as number 2 in terms of importance. The policy and regulatory environment under which tourism stakeholders operate was seen as the 3rd most important. And the strength of partnerships in both this area and with surrounding areas was seen as being the 4th most important area. Again, over in terms of perceived performance, we see a couple of areas that rank very high in terms of performance. Partnership strength and policy and regulatory environment are generally strong performers. But funding, support, and certainty ranked in terms of performance 9 out of 10. Economic development was in the middle there at 6 out of 10 in terms of categories. So again, I'll go through this. These are done on a 1 to 5 scale. Funding, support, and certainty was an area that did not perform as well. And generally, stakeholders don't see the tourism economy as having stable revenue or sufficient revenue for either tourism promotion or for tourism product development and enhancement of the visitor experience, but also the resident experience as well. The area generally does pretty well in terms of economic development or seeing tourism importance, tourism as a form of economic development. Stakeholders generally think that most people see it as important for community building and that it's a key economic driver. Local community support, there generally, again, the stakeholders believe that local business does understand and supports the tourism industry. And that's generally seen as a fairly strong point for the community. Partnership strength, this is really partnership amongst the businesses and organizations in the area. That could be everything from hoteliers and retailers to local arts organizations, colleges and universities, certainly the military. And generally, most stakeholders see there is value, perceived value in being a partner with other entities and with the CVB. Policy and regulatory environment, I mentioned, was seen as a strength in terms of performance. And here, the government is seen as relying on tourism for economic growth. Now, it's not the only driver of economic growth. Obviously, you have a strong military presence in the area, which is a key driver of economic growth. But tourism is a part of that as well. And there's a good balance there. You have other industries as well. So tourism is seen as part, as a driver of economic growth, but not necessarily the only driver. As far as industry support for tourism and how they support the CVB, this again was generally seen as a strength and seen that the tourism industry is a leader in the industry, seen as a leader in tourism in the region and in the state. You have a long history of hospitality in the low country of South Carolina, and that culture, again, is seen as a strength. It was hospitality culture was ranked, given us a rating of 4 out of 5 on a 5-point scale. So that certainly is seen as a strength. Now, workforce, however, is a challenge. And keep in mind, that certainly going into the pandemic, before the pandemic, in many destinations, your area included, you saw very low unemployment rates. Most performers, most employers, particularly in the hospitality area, were scrambling to fill open jobs. And so in some ways, in many ways, they were having to resort to not attracting and not having access to a high quality workforce. Now, it'll be interesting to see what this looks like on the other side of the pandemic, certainly. But this was a challenge for many hospitality and tourism employers before the pandemic. This is something that will require the continued engagement of the industry, local stakeholders, local colleges and universities, high schools, and certainly local government. Now, what about regional collaboration? Well, generally you see that there's good regional collaboration and that the marketing efforts of other entities in the area, Hilton Head, Savannah, and Charleston, and working with those entities helps drive economic benefits. Organizational governance model basically means looking at the CVB. And as Rob mentioned before, there's now an independent Convention and Visitors Bureau structure, and that is seen as having a very effective governance structure. And that's a strength that I've heard through interviews with local stakeholders as well. So a couple of slides to wrap up here. I want to point out that we did offer a couple of open-ended questions. One of those was, what one thing could Northern Beaufort County do to become a better or even a world-class destination? And these were the three top categories. One was improving areas that fell under attractions and entertainment, and a number of different comments here. And again, I'll point out that capitalizing on the nature of the area and providing for more ways for visitors and residents to engage with the outdoors was one of the key themes we saw here. So certainly the Cypress Wetlands Project is a good example of that. But you have tremendous natural resources here. How do we give more opportunities to engage in a way that preserves those assets? I'll also note that convention and meeting facility was a top response as well. Heard a lot of comments about that earlier. And then under mobility and access, one comment that was specifically geared toward Port Royal was getting the Port Royal port development moving and tying the communities of the area together with water transport, is seen as an important step to becoming a better or even a world-class destination. There were also certainly some issues cited that the CVB should specifically address, and Rob and his board and staff are beginning to do that. And one of the key areas here I've highlighted is the diversification of the tourist base. So that's not so dependent, for instance, on just visitors coming for graduations at Paris Island. And this has become a key area of focus for Rob and his board and other stakeholders is how do we diversify our tourism base? And that's become a key issue for a lot of destinations as they look and see which markets are going to return or have returned during the pandemic or return after the pandemic, and which are going to be much slower to recover. So I'll be happy to answer any questions as part of my presentation. I appreciate the time to present to you today, and certainly have appreciated the opportunity to be part of the process.
Thank you very much for that presentation. I'll open it up to council for questions. Who was that? Darryl?
I have nothing.
Okay. The one I have is we got a pretty low rating on transportation, and I think that was focused specifically on public transportation. Is that where that is geared around?
Public transportation was one. Certainly, the management of traffic issues was also another that received relatively low rating. And then, what can we do to expand bicycle accessibility?
Very good. Very good. Well, thank you for that presentation. It does frame it. Well, can we get a copy of that, please, so that we can
Yes.
view it again at our own
I
pace?
will get a copy to Rob and have him send it to you.
Rob, so where do we go from here?
Well, I think for us, Mayor, it is about relaying the information back to you guys. And as we start to develop and you guys are implementing your strategic plans and trying to, as Chris referenced, trying to align resources to those objectives, this will be some of that framework given, some of the feedback we've had as we look at, not only Port Royal, but Northern Beaufort County as a whole. And so we have shared this information. We'll get you a copy of this and we can formalize those strategies going forward, because while some of it is very pertinent at the time and considered, things have slightly changed a little bit coming out of the pandemic that we have to take note of and be aware of. Listen, the diversification of the tourism base is a big picture. It's not going to be something that happens overnight, and it's something that we're going to have to focus on. It's kind of hitting us in the face right now. Since March, Parris Island has not had a single graduation open to the public. There's talk that, it's talk, but we understand that may extend throughout 2020. Very well could extend into the early parts of 2021. And who knows what happens past that, because, Parris Island's main mission is to make Marines. It's not to necessarily host graduations for us. But it's something like that. We have to diversify the tourist base. We also realize that the pandemic has created an area that we're going to have to focus heavily on drive markets. And that's always been a primary focus for us. But, if you look very closely, you'll see that there's about 2 million people and about 150 miles of us. So it gives us an opportunity to refocus and reshape how we present the destination. And of course, as we will, most likely talk later on, we can't look at it as a singular location. It's not just singular Beaufort or singular Port Royal or singular Fripp Island. The regional destination as a whole, Northern Beaufort County as a whole, is bigger and greater as a whole, as opposed to its parts. And I say that because there's a formula that we use in the tourism sector, Mayor, that helps us get to that formula. For every hour that I'm willing to get my family in the vehicle and drive to a destination, I am looking for that destination to provide me with an experience that equals 3 to 4 hours. So if I'm coming from Columbia, it's somewhere around 8 hours of activity. And we encourage that in the tourism sector because we want those people to, venture into an overnight accommodation. And now you start to see why the whole of the northern part of Beaufort County is as important as a single individual location, because we need all of the aspects that Chris has mentioned there. I mean, for the outdoor enthusiasts, they're going to want to touch certain aspects. It might be Sands Beach, it might be Cypress Wetlands, it might be venturing out to Hunting Island for the trails, it might be walking through Penn Center, whatever that fills their itinerary, because they have to justify meeting their expectations. It's easier for us as a destination as a whole to meet that expectation with a wonderful experience spread out all throughout Northern Beaufort County. And that's kind of the primary target for us. If we're going to promote and diversify our base, we have to work our resources towards these efforts to help us diversify this, attract people and what they're looking for. And like I said, to start this conversation, it's kind of changed a little bit now that the pandemic is set in. There's a new norm. And what we're finding through research says that if they showed up at the beginning of the pandemic, if they felt safe, if they felt like they had great space to move about, if the outdoor activities met their expectations, they're more likely to return. And that bodes well for a destination like us. And that's something that we have to focus on if we're going to diversify further.
I appreciate that. And I can assume that both the county and the city of Beaufort governmental bodies have seen this as well, or are on the schedule to see this?
The city has seen it, the county has not. But I believe I sent it out to the administrators and the managers of those three groups. And, Van was, of course, being a part of that committee early on, very responsive to get this meeting set up. So we're very appreciated.
Okay, thank you. Council, questions? A lot of good information.
Very good information. And I believe our representative is Eileen Newton on this board. Is that right? On the
That's
city
correct. That's
Okay.
correct.
Okay.
Very good. Chris, Rob, thank you very much. Rob, you're going to be hanging around, right?
I'll be here.
Okay. If everybody's good, we'll move on to the next agenda item,
Yep.
which is council briefing. Van, do you have anything you need to update us from last week?
Not too much. I did talk to Scott with the National Park Service, and I may have forwarded y'all the email about some interim plans we have for Porter's Chapel. Obviously, with the delay in the coursework at USAB, there's some of the displays will probably take a little bit more time than we anticipated. But we'd like to get the building at least available to the National Park Service so they can start doing or using it as a point of, meeting people to try to get and take a look at Camp Saxon and some of the adjacent property. So Scott is working on that, and I think I sent y'all that. Cypress wetlands work hopefully going to start soon. Apparently there's some questions that have come up about that and what we have anticipated, and that there's some people have expressed concerns about the scope of work and what we have in mind. But just real quickly, the intent of that contract obviously is to improve the safety of the wetland for the nesting birds. Obviously, we delayed the start of work because of the ibis nest, but what we're attempting to do right now is remove the invasive species and deepen those areas that have shallowed up, which create the land bridges that allow predators to get to the nesting areas. And so by creating depth and getting rid of the invasives, we're actually increasing the safety of the wetland as a rookery. So I think there's been some rumor that we're intending to destroy it and the birds aren't going to return. And I just wanted to address that.
Can the Friends of the Cypress Wetland help us here with this? Because I know they're excited about this project. And maybe
Yes, they are.
Maybe they can help us with the public perception of what's happening in there.
That's probably a good group to handle it.
Anything else that you need to update us on?
No, just a couple of little traffic related things. I did ask Tony to go ahead and prepare an encroachment permit to discuss the potential or try to get a painted crossing near Robinson. I did reach out to the city to talk about adding a sidewalk, that one gap where it kind of dead ends now. And then, Jeff is moving forward with the installation of the four-way stop on Old Shell and doing some other work. And then Michael Klink is doing the engineering stuff related to the pedestrian crossing and speed hump near the police department.
Right.
And we continue the directed patrols. These guys are doing directed patrols in those troublesome speeding areas on a daily basis. Chief can speak to that if he wants, but they've been very active.
Chief, you got anything you want to add?
No, sir. We're going to keep doing what we're doing. I think it's working pretty well.
Appreciate that.
And then I do have one other thing. If Chief Berthoff is still here, I think he wanted to give you all some information.
Thank you, Van. Mayor and Council, thanks again for having us tonight. I wanted to inform you, if you didn't see it in the Facebook post from the town today, that the fire department is a recipient of an AFG grant, which is an Assistance to Firefighters grant. It's a total grant award of $220,000. $20,000 of that is a local match. So it's a federal funded grant of $200,000 for advanced EMT training for 24 of our firefighters. So that is out to bid already and should be underway shortly. And we're excited for the opportunity for our firefighters. We've made attempts through the budgeting process to get that piecemeal together, but this is going to skyrocket us forward at a much quicker pace. And the second thing of note, last night, the city council did approve the financing for the first of 2 purchases of fire trucks this year. And so we will be moving forward with that process in short order on purchase number 1, and then contemplating the second one after the first of the year. So thanks again for all your support. The men and women of the fire department appreciate it. And I'm sure that they will do you proud in their endeavors to advance their training.
Excellent.
Thank you,
That's good news.
Congratulations.
That's a great job. Thank y'all for doing that.
Thank you.
Thanks, Reese. Thanks very much, Chief. Anybody, council members, have any questions for Van about the briefing?
No, sir.
A lot of conversation about the aerators. They're still up and working?
Yes, and then just real quickly also, and I think I may have mentioned this last week, we're looking to add the 2 aerators to the Madrid pond. That work will kind of coincide, hopefully, when we get kind of that fence line and start clearing that out as well.
Very good. Okay, if everybody's okay, we'll move on to item 6 on the agenda, which is emergency ordinances. We have 2 that we need to update. The first ordinance is ordinance 20-20-25, an emergency ordinance for the town of Port Royal, South Carolina to reestablish requiring individuals to wear face coverings in certain circumstances in light of the COVID-19 pandemic and matters related to thereto and severability. Again, we have created this ordinance in a way that it expires at our council meetings, so it doesn't require a special meeting. So what's the pleasure of council tonight to take it to the October council meeting?
I make a motion, we approve that.
We have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Any further discussion on that motion?
I did want to mention really quick. I been keeping up with the numbers every day, as I know everybody has. And I'm inclined. I think that the mask ordinance is working, and I like how we've got it set up for every 30 days. But just something I think as a town we should just start keeping in mind is kind of what the end game looks like, kind of what specifics we're looking for, that we can define success. Because this mask ordinance is, they can't last forever. So just kind of, and we don't have to define that right now, but what, is that a something that happens over weeks? Is that a certain percentage? Is that a certain number? Just kind of start thinking about what the goal line is, so we know when we get there, we can act on it. So
Isn't it based on at least 2 weeks of decline in the number of cases? Steady decline?
Well,
that's kind of one thing that's why I wanted to bring this up, is because that was one of the first metrics that I heard. And now I'm hearing different metrics that, you need a 5% infection rate, you need these numbers, that numbers. And it just seems like the goalpost kind of keeps moving. And I'm just saying that, we need to just think about what is the goalpost and kind of pick one or pick something that we want to see. And so then we know when to act, because you can move the goalpost around for any statistic and any number and push it down the field, push it down forever and ever. So just something, I mean, I do think we need to pass it again right now, but just, at some point it can't last forever. So just kind of think, what does the end look like,
Yeah, I think that's an appropriate, and Daryl, you're right. The original was looking for that rolling average, the 7-day average, to kind of be dropping, 14 days to be dropping. But over the past 3 weeks, our positivity rate has still been up around 14%. So even if you were to drop a couple of percent for 2 weeks, that's still so high. I mean, it's just, we got to get it into the single digits. You hear that number of 5, less than 5% really means that the community is doing everything that needs to be done. There are areas, we can all check on areas, we can look at areas. I follow different areas, and you see some of these communities that are doing a fantastic job, or being claimed that they're doing a fantastic job of, tests of 11,000 tests in a day with a positive rate of 0.6%. And you think about that from our perspective, we were doing that. That's such a low number, and we've got to get there. And I think, Kevin, it's a great, segment to bring it up. We've got to think about where we're going to be. And I think talking with our neighboring communities, and this would be a great question that we probably need to bring up to Russell on the hospital call, and say, Russell, in your perspective, what is that? What is that marker that we're looking for to say we can start thinking about easing up on the mask ordinance?
Right.
Any other discussion on that?
No, sir.
Hearing none, I'll go ahead and call for the question. Jerry, you're in the upper left.
Aye, in favor.
Kevin,
Aye.
Daryl,
Aye.
Marybeth,
Aye.
Mayor also votes aye. So the mask ordinance gets extended to our October council meeting. Next ordinance is ordinance 20-26. This is the emergency ordinance to reauthorize ordinance number 20-20-15 related to this, electronic meetings, and allowing us to keep these moving forward as we're trying to keep our social distancing in place. What's the pleasure of council?
Make a motion to approve ordinance 2020-26.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? We have a battle for second, but we got it. Hearing no further discussion, same order, please, Jerry.
Jerry Ashburn, aye.
Kevin,
Aye.
Darrell,
Aye.
Maribeth?
Aye.
Mayor also aye. We have second readings. First, second reading, the next item on our agenda is ordinance 20-20-17, an ordinance to rezone approximately 13.964 acres of real estate located in Beaufort County, described as Beaufort County Tax District 112, map 33B, parcels 90A, 138, and a portion of 137 in Beaufort County, South Carolina, to be rezoned T3 suburban to T4 neighborhood center. Open. This is the rezoning of 1 Hamrick Drive. We held a public hearing on this earlier this evening. It is up on the screen for viewing. What is the pleasure of council? Would you like to hear from the applicant again before you make a motion?
Yeah, that'd be fine with me, Joe. I thought that we were still waiting on a certain aspect of this before we voted. Am I mistaken in that?
I believe there was some email communication. Let's hear from the applicant. Maybe he can help us out. The applicant, I believe, was online.
I'm here, council. Thank you for your time this evening. The deed restriction for this property has been recorded with Beaufort County, was submitted to the town over the course of the past week. So the property is now deed restricted. So all that can go, it's clearly stated in the deed restriction, T4 neighborhood center open, church use only. So we had another positive meeting with surrounding neighbors this past Monday. We're under contract to close. We've agreed a contract with a design build firm, and we're definitely eager to get to work. Of course, contingent upon the council's willingness to rezone. So everything right now is in place for this property to move forward.
Okay, that's fine. And I believe we did get an email today from Van, now that I'm checking my notes. So I don't have any further discussion. I'm ready to move forward on this if you'll allow us to, sir.
Yeah, we had the public hearing, so we do not need to do a public comment section at this point in time because we have the public hearing tonight. So I am willing to entertain a motion at this point.
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 2020-17.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. I believe that was Darrell.
Darrell
Yep.
got him that time, yep.
So we have a motion by Jerry, seconded by Darrell to rezone for ordinance 20-20-17 to rezone 1 Hamrick Drive. Any further discussion?
No, sir.
Hearing none, same order, please. Go right ahead.
Jerry Ashburn, aye.
Kevin Phillips, aye.
Darrell Owens, aye.
Mary Beth, aye.
Joe DeVito, aye. The property has been rezoned. The next item is ordinance. Taylor, are you still there?
Yes, sir.
Thank you for your patience with us and working with the town.
Thank you very much, council. We look forward to serving the community.
And we look forward to the neighborhood enjoying you.
For
Good
sure.
luck.
Thank you.
Yep.
The next item is ordinance 20-20-22. An ordinance to rezone approximately 2.96 acres of real estate located in Beaufort County, described as Beaufort County Tax District 112, map 30, parcel 4 in Beaufort County, South Carolina, to be rezoned T4 neighborhood center from T4 neighborhood center to T4 neighborhood center open. This is 4 Sundown Lane, highlighted in the map that's up on the screen right now. Again, we had a public hearing on this tonight with no comments. So what's the pleasure of council?
I make a motion to approve ordinance 2020-22, sir.
Thank you, Jerry. Second, do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mary Beth. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, go ahead and follow the same order.
Jerry Ashburn, aye.
Kevin Phillips, aye.
Darrell Owens, aye.
Mary Beth Hayward, aye.
Mayor also is aye. Next item of business is ordinance 20-20-23. An ordinance to authorize the town manager to convey excess real property to facilitate construction of a sidewalk within the town described as Beaufort County Tax District 113, map 10, parcel 75, approximately 2,048.1 feet along the eastern boundary of 12th Street and Ritter Circle. Again, we held a public hearing on this tonight, so what's the pleasure of council?
I move that we approve ordinance 2020-23.
Second.
Thank you, Darrell. Thank you, Mary Beth. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll call for the question. Jerry, if you can start us off.
Jerry Ashburn, aye.
Kevin Phillips, aye.
Daryl Owens, aye.
Mary Beth Hayward, aye.
And the mayor also is aye. The last ordinance for second reading is ordinance 20-20-24, an ordinance to authorize the town manager to convey excess real property to facilitate the construction of sidewalk within the town, described as Beaufort County Tax District 110, map 11, parcel 436. This is 53 feet on 16th Street, known as 813 16th Street. Once again, we had a public hearing on this tonight. So what's the pleasure of council?
I move that we approve ordinance 2020-24.
Second.
Thank you, Darrell and Jerry. Any further conversation or discussion on this ordinance? Hearing none, I'll call the question. Jerry, go ahead and get us started.
Jerry Ashburn, aye.
Kevin Phillips, aye.
Darrell, you're up.
Aye.
Mary Beth Hayward, aye.
Mayor's also aye.
Got
Darrell's like,
distracted.
I made the motion. I'm good.
I got distracted there.
No, that's good. We have two council action items, and just so that everybody knows, we need a motion on these to give some direction to Van on what to do with both of these. The first one is a little bit of an extension of what we heard earlier, which is the agreement for the Destination and Marketing Organization, and that is the CDB. We've heard a lot from tonight. Rob is, I assume, still on the line. There he is. He just popped back in. Glasses on, glasses off. He shows up. It's amazing. So Rob is still here again to answer any questions. We've had a document in front of us for over a week now to review. So let's open up a discussion on this. Anybody want to start?
And
Dan?
just real quickly, I'll point out that if what the real meat and potatoes of this document is where you started at number 2 in CVB responsibilities, and kind of it outlines what they will be doing for us, as well as the DMO report. And then following that are the responsibilities of the town, which is compliance with the accommodation tax law. You know, for those of you that, know, we've had a couple of hotels in town, and now we have a fair amount of short-term rentals, and that it does seem to ebb and flow, but it tends to continue to grow. Obviously, we've seen some impact because of the lack of graduations. However, we're hoping that rebounds eventually. But that's where you really need to look at the specifics of the document, and I'll turn it over to Rob to answer any questions or provide y'all some more background.
Council have questions for Rob.
Well, I just had, how would this impact the events, festivals, street music, soft shell craft? How will that impact? How would this impact those things that we're currently doing now?
Well, right now, you fund some of those events out of hospitality and accommodation tax funds, because once we get above a certain threshold, you did get a document earlier in this week which shows how those funds are to be spent. It gave you the percentages. So all of those events still qualify. It's just that the piece that what we're designating right now for the CVB would be spent that way. And if you look, and I'll give you all the ledgers that I had Chris go through, you'll see that we already do a fair amount of advertising. What we don't do very well is have a very cohesive advertising campaign, and the expertise that Rob and his organization is offering to us allows us to kind of create that. And, we got into earlier talking about, what the markets were and what we should be focusing on. That's the guidance that they'll give us so we can more effectively spend that money.
Okay, I'm good with that.
Van, if I'm correct, the RV park that was just approved, that will pay accommodations tax as well too, correct?
I believe so, yes.
Yep. Yeah, we talked about that. You're absolutely right.
And I guess I just want to, question for Rob would be, just a point of clarification. So the Beaufort, and I got to remember our names in it. So the Greater Beaufort Port Royal CVB is an entity that it has nothing to do with the Chamber of Commerce, correct? It's a different entity.
Yes, sir. It's completely separate. That took place in 2018.
Okay. And also too, just one last thing. What does the CVB do to stay in, as far as transparency is concerned with the county, and what are the steps that to address those issues when they come up?
How do we know where the money's being spent, I think is the question.
Yeah, that's great. And listen, that's the best question in the world to ask, because transparency is something that is sought after. You guys expect your partners that you contract with or have agreements with to be good stewards of the funds in that case. And so that's where we fall in line too. So our board, since our initiation in 2018, has focused on transparency and making those funds available to our partners who invest their funds into the marketing plan. So in this agreement, we even actually outline the expectations of when those reports will come to you, what access and when access can be achieved. And here's the deal: if you want to see the funds and where they're pulled, you designate somebody from the town staff and they come in and look at the books, and we show the books and we show the report. But twice a year, you're going to get the report in a lot fuller detail. So that's part of the agreement. We put that in there so that there's no questions asked. Listen, you guys have constituents that you have that ask questions. Where's the money being spent? And we want to make sure that as stewards of these funds, that we give you the confidence to be able to say, this is where it's at. If you want to see it, I can find more detail. All I have to do is call Rob and kind of get the details sent to us. And that's how it goes. We've done that. So the county, a great question. County, asked for those receipts. We provide that. Staff says it's sufficient. We move forward. City of Beaufort's a little different in the sense that we have some reimbursement grants, and that's how they handle their reimbursements. They also have receipts as well. But at any time, you guys get the completed audit, you get the P&Ls. You'll get it as a part of this agreement. You'll get them twice a year. Plus, if in any time that you need the report to come before council for the metrics, what the data is saying about overnight accommodations and what short-term rental growth looks like, and all positive stuff. That's the kind of research that's in and above, and that's what we provide to our folks. I want you to get used to seeing the CVB as your partner as far as data, making sure that the money is sufficiently spent, and at the same time providing you the confidence and trust that you expect in all your partners. That's what we're looking to establish here. And so the agreement that was presented to Van and presented to you guys for tonight is to establish those expectations ahead of time so that everyone has the confidence moving forward, and then we meet them and we go forward.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Rob?
No, I think I'm totally support this, and I think it's very results oriented, results driven, and I think it's money well spent. And I definitely take into consideration our representative Eileen Newton, who sent us all an email encouraging all of us to embrace this. I just think it's the right thing to do.
Very good. So I think the appropriate motion, if anybody wants to make, is a motion to direct Van to enter into a contract with CVB.
I make a motion to direct Van to enter an agreement contract with the Destination Marketing Organization, the CVB.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll go ahead and call the question. Jerry, get us started.
Jerry Ashmore, aye.
Kevin Phillips, aye.
Daryl Owens, aye.
Mary Beth Hayward, aye.
The mayor also is aye. Thank you very much. Rob, we look forward to this and kind of new into this, plan on coming in and giving us an update in maybe a quarter, about 4 months from now, and kind of
we'll look forward to it.
Yeah, to kind of get us used to what you do.
Yep, and we have that data to provide, and I'll make sure that you guys get that in the fashion you need it. I appreciate your consideration on this, and we look forward to serving you guys in this capacity. And we'll get with Van for the next steps. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rob.
Man, you good with where we are?
Absolutely.
Okay, so the next, it's on our agenda as a dedication of the amphitheater, but we've all seen there is a a plaque that was in our, and it's really the dedication of the trail. Apologize that the agenda seems to be worded a little bit off there, but it is a dedication of the Cypress Wetlands Trail is in our, what is in the plaque there for us to move forward on. Do we have anybody from the Cypress Wetlands on board? I don't see anybody.
No, but I've been in communication with Bernadette discussing this, and she did reference the plaque proof that you now have up on the screen.
So once again, a motion for Van to work to get this plaque mounted, and a motion really saying that we're dedicating the Cypress Wetland Trail to Pete Richards.
I'll entertain, I'll actually issue a motion to direct Van to move forward with the dedication of the plaque in commemoration in the honor of the Honorable Pete Richards for all of his efforts.
Very good. Thank you, Darrell. Do we have a motion? Do we have a
Second that.
We have a motion and a second by Jerry. So the plaque will read, welcome to the Pete Richards Cypress Wetland Trail, where birds of all feathers flock together in recognition of Pete Richards, February 18th to 1942 to February 28th, 2020, for his dedication, leadership, and commitment to creating the Friends of the Port Royal Cypress Wetlands. If there's no further discussion, I'll call for the question. Jerry, lead us off.
Jerry Ashmore, aye.
Kevin Phillips, aye.
A big aye from Darrell Owens.
Mary Beth Hayward, aye.
Mayor also is aye. Van, can you make sure we set up some sort of a dedication ceremony on site?
Yeah, I'll coordinate with the Friends group. This is obviously a pretty important step for those of you that knew Pete. He was very instrumental in gaining recognition for the Cypress Wetlands Trail, working with his friends out of the Fripp Audubon Society, as well as basically the creator of the Birthday for the Birds event, which he saw as an opportunity to introduce, kids and citizens and visitors to the Cypress Wetlands, and how important it was and integral it was to downtown Port Royal, and how unique it was as an attraction, as a venue, as an exercising opportunity, and a retreat for anybody who had the pleasure of visiting it.
Very good.
Yeah, I still have my hat and my bazooka.
There you go, Darrell. All right, we've got important dates. Tuesday, September 15th, 4:30 Redevelopment Commission meeting is the only thing I have listed. Does anybody have anything else they need to add to important dates? Hearing none, we'll move on to council comments. And just because Jerry's got to go first every time before, he doesn't.
Mayor, we did
Yes.
have one other important date that just recently came up. It is on the same day, Tuesday, September 15th at 3 p.m. The Historic Preservation Commission will be meeting.
Historic Preservation Commission, September 15th, 3 p.m.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Brooke, for adding that.
And really quick, sorry, I just
Kevin.
to let everybody know. So with the redevelopment commission, it's actually the next meeting on the 15th. We've been doing Zoom meetings, but I believe our next, weather permitted, is going to be out on the bluff, and we're getting an update from Mr. Moss about the Spanish Moss Trail and everything going on with that. So should be an interesting meeting, and it'll, weather permitted, it'll be outside. So just didn't want to be any confusion, and people will be looking for a Zoom meeting when this one will be. It will be somewhat public.
Make sure that agenda reflects that and get that on our agenda list. Anything else? All right, we'll go public comment. Mary Beth, you got to go last all night, so you get to go first now.
No, I don't have anything. Thank you, Joe. Mayor.
Darrell, anything?
Yeah, there are a couple things. One, I failed to write down. I'd asked the person to email it to me, and I've not gotten that. But Van, I don't know how we can actually discourage this, because we have talked about this many times and put forth the effort. But there's a continuance of gutting fish on the benches at the pier, and I go out there, and I mean, it's just so gross and disgusting that you don't want to sit on it. So it's discouraging people from wanting to sit out there. I know we have a lot of visitors out there, because I go out there and I welcome them and talk to them, but it's just atrocious how unsanitary that that place is and the defiance of the people that's still utilizing it, just gutting the fish on those benches. And it's disgusting.
Darrell, appreciate you bringing that forward. And I saw Chiefs immediately start to write something down. So maybe we can come up with some sort of a plan. And I think at some point, expansion of our cameras are probably going to be necessary as well. And maybe that's a good point to expand the cameras.
Well, maybe we put a stencil on the bench. Do not gut your fish here.
There you go.
So they may have to read it when they lean over to gut the actual fish. I mean, I hate to be that plain about it, but that might be what it takes.
Or threaten them with a fine or something, because I mean, there's just a blatant defiance of it. You know, it's a disregard for other people, really.
Chief, did you have anything you wanted to add to that conversation?
Yes, sir. I'll have Kangaroo patrol that a little bit more on foot.
Maybe some sort of, you know, if nothing else, they are wooden benches, but maybe we can do some sort of, see what it would take to do some sort of a vinyl coating over them that could be easily washed.
Help it easy clean and wash it off with
Yeah,
the water.
that's what I was thinking, make it, you know, and on that vinyl coating stencil would be do not clean fish right over the seat, you know, and you work with somebody. I think we got somebody around here that might be able to help us design something to fit on there that says do not clean fish, and it's a vinyl coating, and make it a little bit easier. Probably have to be changed every year because the vinyl's only going to last so long, but maybe that's an idea to look into.
Yeah, again, it's something I agree. It's just something that, you know, if the rain comes, the rain could at least wash it off, if anything.
Yeah. Kevin, you got anything you'd like to add to council comments?
No, thank you. Good job, everybody.
Jerry?
Yeah, I've got two items. One, just to make you aware of things. Ben, I've gotten a couple of emails, and I'll just pass this along to you, and a text message. Could you, let's see, could we address cleaning out clogged streets, stormwater drains, and overgrown sidewalks along Paris Island Gateway as they are in the areas that are in the town of Port Royal? So I'll just bring that to your attention and let you and your folks look at that. Just some overgrown sidewalks and or some drain basins, type 16 drains, et cetera. And also I want to just make an observation that I was extremely happy to see Waste Pro come through this week. And I know we've had some challenges here lately with our trash pickup throughout the community, and we've all gotten emails and phone calls and text messages, but I think they were really on their game this week. And if you noticed them, they upped their labor. They had the trash truck, and there were 2-3 guys on that. And then behind that trash truck, there was a pickup truck, and there were a couple of guys on that. And they were really, really just hustling and getting the trash done, waving and smiling at people. And I was happy to see that. I don't know if anybody's gotten any phone calls or text messages this week, but I did see a marked improvement with our trash collection this week, and on a short week at that. So thank you for everything you've been doing there, man, leading our efforts there.
Appreciate that. I was out of town, so I didn't get to see them come by this week, but when I got home, the can was already in, so I knew they got here early. So that was a wonderful thing, but I appreciate it.
They were manually doing it. They didn't have the truck with the arm on it. They were just out there humping it, and it was great. I was happy to see that.
Had a pilot truck, yes.
Yep.
Well, very good. Well, thanks, everybody, and we'll open it up. Go ahead.
There was something I wanted to talk about.
Please.
The village people asked me to bring it up. Is they were once again out cleaning and once again had significant volume of trash, not in receptacles at the skateboard park. So this is still an issue. So I hate to be punitive, but we're gonna have to figure out some sort of remedy to this, because I'm sure a significant amount of it is being generated by users. I'm sure some of it is people not using the skateboard park. However, we would like to see the users of this free facility maybe step up a little bit and help us out, because we pick up garbage there just about daily. And so, I mean, town staff and contracted folks can not do it more than that.
And they picked up on Saturday morning, so it's before the market was there.
Mm-hmm.
Farmers market was there when they picked up, so it's not anything being generated by the farmers market. Okay, we'll have to think about that and look around there and see if we can come up with something. If everybody's okay, I'll open it up to public comment. See if we had anybody who submitted any comments. Brooke, did you receive it?
I did not receive any emails. After a few of our votes, we did get a couple of hoorays from residents over in the Shell Point community, as well as for face mask ordinance being continued. The only other item would be Ms. Fidrick let us know that the vegetation is growing out onto the Sands Road, which is a safety concern. Cars and trucks cannot see bikers and walkers. And that's the only extra comment I have.
And so that right of way is not sure how wide, but the property is owned by Gray Ghost outside the right of way.
Yes.
So we probably need to look closely to see whether we think it's a right of way maintenance, or do we need to get with Gray Ghost to tell them it's a property maintenance? And then cut the edges. So
Well, a lot of places it's in the bike lane out there because I walked that bike lane and it's a lot of the vegetation is growing out into the bike lane.
which is our responsibility then, and we need to get to work on it. Very good.
And we can scrape that. We periodically have to scrape this
Done a
up.
couple, that was scraped a couple months ago, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
I think part of it was down at the end. You're right.
Sunshine and rain will do it every time.
Everything's growing. Well, does anybody else have any information or anything they'd like to share for the good of Port Royal? And if not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
We have a motion to adjourn. We have a second, no vote required because we have completed our agenda. Thank you, everybody, and see everybody soon.
Okay.